Welcome to Hilary Emmanuel Ministries, where faith meets power, purity and prosperity, and breakthroughs are born. At Diadem, we equip you with bold prayers, life-transforming teachings, and spiritual strategies to overcome every challenge life throws your way. Join us as we dive into God's Word, experience His presence like never before, and walk in His purpose for our lives. If you're in London, we invite you to fellowship with us in person at Diadem, 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. Don't forget to subscribe now and let's grow in faith together.
I want you to listen to me so that you understand what we are going to pray about. I don't know if you still remember some of the things the Father said concerning this year, the message of this year. He said that it is a bleak year. He said that death will be common and very cheap. He said, but the lives of my children shall be very precious and securely protected. He said that those who survive this year and get to 2022 will glorify God. And brethren, that's why we want to cry unto our God today. We want to cry unto our God for our lives, to hide us away from calamity. If you have been following the global event, the world event, what is happening everywhere on earth, you see the way the whole thing is happening. Today, this one will happen and pick sizable number of souls. Another day, another one will happen in another state, in another country, happen in another place, happen in another place, happen in another place. And this how souls are rushing into eternity. So today, brethren, we are nearing the middle of the year. We want to cry unto our God that as the events of the earth are beginning to pick momentum, are beginning to gather speed, that the Lord will hide us away from dangers, that the Lord will hide us away from calamity. And that's what I'm talking to you about today. Oh God, hide me from calamity. If you look around the world, if you have spiritual understanding, you will see clearly that there's something going on. There's something serious happening. Death is so cheap. Death is so common. People die over just carelessly, anyhow. And those are precious lives. Those are people's lives. And as such, brethren, we want to cry that God will hide us away from those things happening on earth. Look at chapter 22, Proverbs 22, verse 3. It says, a prudent man, take note of that, a wise man, a prudent man foreseeth the evil. So it's not every person that can foresee evil. It takes divine wisdom to be able to foresee evil. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and does what? And hideth himself. Hideth himself. But the simple people, simple-minded people who are not prudent, who are not wise, the Bible says they don't hide themselves, they just pass on. And what happened to them? They are punished. They perish. So you now see that it takes serious spiritual prudence, serious spiritual foresight to be able to live at a time like this. To see evil afar off, to see calamity afar off, and begin to hide yourself. When Solomon was saying this thing, he was saying it possibly because of the story of his father. He knew about David, his father. He knew he was a wise man, a prudent man, and he knew that he was surrounded by so many evils, and he knew that the only way David would have survived all those things was because he was able to hide himself. But brethren, when we talk about hiding ourselves, sometimes we might not be able to hide ourselves properly. If we want to take charge of our own life, to hide ourselves, we might not be able to do it well. Look at David, for example, in 1 Samuel chapter 27, in verse 1. 1 Samuel 27, verse 1. And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. Why? David foresaw something. David was prudent. He saw that he was surrounded by danger. He saw the way Saul was threatening his life. And David now said, the way these things are going, if I don't hide myself, it's just one day this man will kill me. One day this man might succeed. So David knew that he had to hide himself. He said, there's nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul shall despair of me to seek me anymore in any coast of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. So David thought, well, I need to hide myself. But do you know, brother, we cannot hide ourselves. Where are you going to hide? David too knew, because many times he had tried to hide himself. When King Saul was pursuing him, there was even a time that he told the wife, the daughter of Saul, he said, use pillow and clothes and package them as if I'm the one lying down on the bed, and cover it with cloth so that they will think it's me. And they did all those things. That's a way of hiding himself. And they did all those things. He escaped. They dropped him back through basket. But all those things he knew that these are not proper hiding. Brethren, that's why David now turned to Jehovah God. And he turned to God in serious prayers and cried unto God to hide him. Because we are talking about fighting against the king of a country, the king of Israel. Where will he hide? In the whole coast of Israel. Where will he hide? Even in the coast of the enemy's land, if the king of Israel decides to go and fight against that land because of him. So for him, he could not hide anywhere. Now look at what David now resorted into. Brethren, when situations like this are on the ground, and you see people every day perishing, and you just think that, look, I need to hide myself. I need to hide my family. We need to really hide away until all this trouble pass over. Then this is the prayers to pray. And we are going to go through the type of prayers that David prayed. Let's see them. In Psalm 143. Psalm 143. Look at verse 9. So that you see how David prayed. And it's all prayer about hiding. If you talk about strength for war, strength for battle, David was a warrior. David was strong. He never lost any battle. And yet there was occasions he needed to hide. The occasion he needed God to hide. Look at what he said in verse 9. He said, deliver me, O Lord, from my enemies. He said, I flee unto thee to hide me. He said, Lord, does it mean that David was not with God before? He has been with God all his life. God has been with him. And he even had the covenant of God upon his life. But in this prayer, he said, Lord, I run to you again afresh. This running is different from all other running that I've been running to you. In this very case, Lord, I'm running to you to hide me from my enemies. To hide me from my enemies. Look at Psalm 17. Psalm 17. Look at verse 6. Psalm 17 verse 6. He says, I have called upon thee, for thou wilt hear me, O God. It's still the same David praying. He said, Lord, I've called upon you, for I know you will hear me. He said, incline thine ear unto me and hear my speech. He said, Lord, please hear my prayer. This is a serious matter. Verse 7. Show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. He said, Lord, I know you have a right arm. And by that right arm, all the people that trust in you, you use that right arm to save them from the people that hate them, that want to destroy them. Verse 8. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. Now, I want you to take note as I read other scriptures to you, so that you see different places where God can hide people. Different places. And David knew all those places. And David, sometimes different prayer, we ask God where to hide him. In this instance now, he's asking God to hide him where? Under the shadow of God's wings. You see, verse 9. He said, from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies. And brethren, if you have deadly enemies, if you have deadly foundations, if you have deadly pursuers, you need to cry unto God to hide you away from them. To hide you away from them. He said, who compass me about? They surround me. These deadly enemies, they surround me. Verse 10, they are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth. He said that every step I take, every direction I go to, they are watching me, they are monitoring me, they are following me. Verse 12, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places, arise, O Lord, and disappoint him. Cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. So you now see that David was crying to God to hide him away from this type of enemies. And in the days when there is no security of life, like our days now, where lives are no longer safe, no peace for those who go out and those who come in, no peace. Somebody yesterday, there was this things they forward around, and this woman was lamenting what she suffered. She said that she went out with her husband to the market. As they were coming back, they entered this tricycle. They entered tricycle in the market. For the tricycle to take them just little distance to where they were going, the tricycle now said, there's police people in the front. Let me take another shortcut. That's how he diverted to another road and started to speed. Before they will say, which road are you following? Where are you taking us to? They brought out gun. That's how they took them to another village. They got to the village. They now told them that, well, you should call all the people and let them transfer 1 million to you. Or 1 point something million or 1 million. He said, otherwise, they are going to shout now in the community that you are child trafficker and you came here to steal children. And they will bring child and put in your hand. And they will now video you and put it on social media. Trouble has started though. He said, they kept them there. They started calling people, calling all the people they knew until they contributed that money. He said, when they released them, other people are still there going through the same thing. So you now see, brethren, the kind of world and life we live inside now. That life is now very precarious, very, very dangerous to live on earth now. So you now see when such a thing, that's what the situation in the time of David. And David was crying, he said, Lord, disappoint this kind of enemies and hide me away from them. Hide me away from them. As I go out every day and come in, my children go out and come in, my family go out and come. Lord, hide us away from calamity and disaster. Psalm 27. Look at verse 2. Psalm 27 verse 2. It says, this David, these are the prayers of David. These are the cries of David to God. When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, when they came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise up against me, in this will I be confident. How can he be confident in this kind of situation? Obviously, he had a secret. Verse 4. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. That's his secret. He said, as long as I remain in the house of God, as I remain in the temple of God all the days of my life, he said, let the whole host, let them surround, let them do anything, let them encamp against me. He said, I will not fear. That I may dwell in the house of the all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. Verse 5, are you there with me? For in the time of trouble, what will he do? He shall hide me in his pavilion. That's another place he can hide you. He will hide you inside his church, inside his pavilion. He will hide you inside his pavilion. He's saying in the time of trouble. Brethren, do you know our world is in trouble? Do you know the earth is in trouble? Do you know presently now humanity is in trouble? David say, in the time of such trouble, he said, God will hide him in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. Verse 6. And now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifice of joy. I will sing praise unto the Lord. So you see how David survived all his trouble. Do you see his secret? Each time the trouble became so much, he will cry for God to hide him. And as soon as God hides him away from that trouble, the trouble will not be able to affect David. Look at Psalm 64. Psalm 64. Look at verse 1. There was no person that had the kind of enemy, the level of enemy, the size and the number of enemy that David had. He said they were like bees. He said all nations compassed me about. And this is the secret how he survived them all. Psalm 64. Look at verse 1. He said, hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Verse 2. What did he say in verse 2? Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. That's where he talk about foresight. How will you know they are planning against you? How will you know what they are plotting to do to you? That's where he said the prudent man will have a foresight. You will get the message. You will see that the enemies are planning something nasty. He says that, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Verse 3, who wear their tongue like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly they shoot at him, and they fear not. So when we have this kind of enemies that operate in this manner, we need God to hide us away from their impacts. Psalm 31, look at verse 19. Psalm 31 verse 19. He said, oh, how great is thy goodness, which thou hast laid up for them that fear thee, which thou hast wrought for them that trust in thee before the sons of men. Verse 20. Thou shalt hide them. He said, those who fear God, oh, thank God we fear God in this house. He said, thou shalt hide them in the secret of thy right. In the presence of God, there's a secret place to hide these people, to hide those who trust in him. He said, you will hide them in the secret of thy presence. From where? From the pride of man. Thou shalt keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of tongues. You keep them secretly. You will hide them secretly. And brother, do you see how David prayed? Do you see the volume of prayer he prayed for God to hide him? Now let's see the result of those prayers. Let's see the results of those prayers and what David received and got from them. 1 Samuel 24. This was when King Saul was pursuing him up and down. 1 Samuel 24, look at verse 1. And it came to pass, when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. Now what happened is this. How will David know? This is where foresight comes in. No? This is where prudence comes in. How will you know there are people reporting you to your enemies? How will you know? Because David went and hid himself. How will you know that where you are hiding, some people, enemies have seen you there and they are reporting to the people looking for you? So they now said, they reported David to King Saul that, look, we know where he's hiding. He's in the wilderness of En-gedi. Verse 2. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel. 3,000 people. Do you know an army of 3,000, how large it will be? Do you know soldiers, 3,000 soldiers, the size of where they will cover? He took 3,000 people and went to look for David and his men upon the rock of the wild goats. And he came to the sheep goats by the way, where was what? A cave. And Saul went in to cover his feet. And David and his men remained in where? Now, David and his men were 600 people. Saul and his people were 3,000. Tell me how 3,000 people will not be able to see 400 people or 600 people around the same cave. Are you following me? Around the same cave. This one is, they are the same, around the same cave. Even if it's a mountain, you just know that there are people the other side. So 3,000 men didn't see David and his men. How? Why? Because God was hiding them. God was hiding them. When spirit beings hide a man, you can be passing by like this, you will not see the person. You can be passing by. There was this thing that time in my place. They call it bush baby. I don't know if you have heard about it before. Bush baby. That thing, they say if he carries somebody, he can hide the person. The person, if bush baby hides somebody, every person, the whole community will be looking for that person. They will not see the person. By the time the person will come out, the person will say, I see all of you passing by. I was under this small shrub here. I was not even hiding. I was here, all of you were passing by me. Some of you were even touching me, but you didn't see me. That's why, because his spirit being was hiding him. So when God hides a man, the whole army of this earth will be passing by. They will not see that man. That's what happened here. 3,000 soldiers. All of them were passing by. They didn't see 400 people. They didn't see any of them. So they were there right at the same cave. Right at the same cave. Now look at what happened. Verse 4. And the men of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thy enemy into thy hand, and thou mayest do unto him as it shall seem good unto thee. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privately, secretly. How is that possible, brethren? A man that has 3,000 soldiers. The whole 3,000 soldiers slept together at the same time. No security, no sentry, nobody to watch over them. All of them just slept together. Together with the king, 3,000 people slept together. David came there and cut off the shirt. Do you see how God hides people? Do you see the mystery of God hiding people? Do you see the result of those prayers I read to you earlier? When David was crying, Lord, hide me from my deadly enemies, my wicked enemies. And do you see how the hiding operates? That 3,000 soldiers and the king, all of them will sleep together at the same time, including the chief of army staff, Joab. And then David will get there, cut off the cloth, and then it is now the spirit conscience that will smote him. Verse 6. And he said unto his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master. The Lord said, if he wanted to kill Saul there, will he not kill him? If he wanted to cut off his head and carry the head away, he will have cut off his head. He said, God forbid that I should do this unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth my hand against him. Sin is the anointed of the Lord. So David stayed his servant with those words. They were even there discussing, brethren. They were even there talking and exchanging and arguing. And yet these people were sleeping. And they didn't wake up. Do you see how God hide people? Verse 8, David also arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, say, my lord the king. When Saul looked behind, David stooped to his face and so on. You can see. So even where David was standing was not too far away that David can shout and he can still hear from the cave. And yet, he couldn't kill David. That is what it means that God is hiding somebody from the enemy. So you can see the impact of the prayer. You can see the effect of the prayer. You can see how the prayer works. But even after King Saul died, and King Saul was no longer pursuing David, King Saul was no longer a problem to David, he still had other enemies. He still had the Philistines. And you know, his encounter with the Philistines went back as when he was a child, a young boy. So they have been looking for him for that long. And the Philistines were a very strong army. Now look at that encounter also, so that you see what it means when you cry to God to hide you from your deadly enemies. 1 Samuel 19. 1 Samuel chapter 19. Look at verse 4. This was when David was still dodging for his life, and Jonathan the son of Saul was helping him. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against thee, and because his work have been to thee word very good. Verse 5. For he did put his life in his hand, and slew the Philistines. The Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. And thou sawest it, and did rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood, to slay David without a cause? So you see what Jonathan said. He said David put his life at the stake to fight against the Philistines. That's the nature of the enemies. Verse 7. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in time past. Verse 8. And there was war again there was war again. And David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from before him. Verse 10. And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin, but he slipped away out of Saul's presence and smote the javelin to the wall, and David fled and escaped that night. All these things you think is ordinary. You think it's because David was too strong or powerful. It's God hiding him away from the enemies. He will hide him from the Philistines and hide him from King Saul. Verse 11. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. These are soldiers. These are trained men that know what to do. So in the same palace, in the same compound, they surrounded the building and they couldn't kill David. So what are we saying in essence? So you now see, brethren, how God hiding you can protect your life. First Chronicles 20, look at verse 1. And it came to pass that after the year was expired, at the time that kings go out to battle, Joab led forth the power of the army and wasted the country of the children of Ammon, and came and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried at Jerusalem, and Joab smote Rabbah and destroyed it. And David took the crown of their king from off his head, and found it to weigh a talent of gold, and there were precious stones in it, and it was set upon David's head. And he brought also exceeding much spoil out of the city. Verse 3. And he brought out the people that were in it, and caught them with swords, and with arrows of iron, and with axes. Even so dealt David with all the cities of the children of Ammon. And David and all the people returned to Jerusalem. And it came to pass after this, that there arose war at Gaza with the Philistines, at which time Sibbecai the Hushathite slew Sippai, that was of the children of the giant, and they were subdued. And there was war again with the Philistines. And Elhanan, the son of Jair, slew Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear staff was like a weaver's beam. And yet again there was war. Can you imagine, brethren? War after war. And it's not every person that goes to war that comes back. For David to go to all these wars, all his life from childhood till old age, and did not die, and did not sustain injury, brethren, is God hiding him. That's the impact of the prayer. So you can see, yet there was war again at Gath, and there was a man of great stature, whose fingers and toes were 24, 6 on each hand, and 6 on each foot. And he also was the son of the giant. But when he defied Israel, Jonathan the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, slew him. These were born unto the giants in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. So do you see all the things that these are the kind of enemies that God hid David from? Giant enemies, uncommon enemies, terrifying enemies that are not ordinary. Enemies that will not finish, that no matter how you kill them, they still survive. And they are deadly. They are dangerous. And brethren, for the Philistines to survive till this very day, those are the only two tribes left in that place, in that land. The Jews and the Philistines. Till today, they are there. All other tribes perished. That's to tell you that they are not ordinary. They are great warriors. And for David and his men to go into those battles against the Philistines year after year, non-stop, and then came out freely and not killed, then you know it's God hiding them. It's God hiding them. And we need this same protection of God. We need this same thing that David enjoyed. And that's why we are going to pray the same prayer that David prayed. We are going to cry unto God the same way that David cried. You know that this year is a year of sword. It's a year of sword. And we desperately need God to hide us away from the rage of sword. Because sword is raging over humanity. Sword is raging all over the earth. And we need God to hide us away from the sword. Let's stand up on our feet. Let's close our eyes and begin to talk to the Lord. Let's first of all cry unto God and say, my God and my Father, every sin in me, every unrighteousness in me, everything in my life that will hinder my prayers today, Lord, I am so sorry.
Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join our growing community of faith. You've just listened to the sermon, but there are powerful prayers that follow. Due to social media rules and guidelines, the prayers have been removed from this video. However, you can access the full prayers and more life-changing resources by visiting www.pastorhillary.org or downloading our app, Diadem Media. If you're in the London area, we'd love to have you fellowship with us in person at 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. If you have any questions about this message, want counseling from Pastor Hillary, or wish to share your testimonies following the prayers, please leave a comment below and someone from our team will get in touch. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly and guide you in all your ways. Stay victorious.